Hello, friends. Welcome to the episode 49 of Suman versus Human. Thank you so much for watching this show. I hope you like the show. Please let us know in the comments what you feel about this show, and please do subscribe if you have not done yet. I am so excited to bring this show to you because I have a wonderful guest on the show. I admire him a lot. I follow him. I respect him a lot. He is Mr. Yamuna Jivana Das from South Africa. Yamuna is a person from South Africa who gave up everything of his life there back in South Africa, and he relocated himself to India along with his family, and he says that India is a Veda Bhumi. I just want to understand through this show that what made him to relocate to India. So let's listen to him. Let's quickly welcome Yamuna Jivana Das on Suman versus Human. Yamuna, welcome to Suman versus Human.
Thank you, Sumanji. I appreciate it very much, and your very honorable welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yamuna, you were a technical trainer in South Africa. Your career was smooth and flourishing. So you
Yes.
have decided to relocate yourself to India. Who called you from India? Why did you relocate yourself?
See, back in South Africa, materially everything was great, um, but I could feel that there was something wrong with the way we humans live our lives because we don't cater to the fact that this life is not the be all and end all. There's always a future. And what is that future? Why do things happen the way they do? Who's in control? Is there a God? Is there life after death? There's so much of suffering in the world. Why are these things happening? So I had lots of questions about life.
Hmm,
And back in 1997,
hmm,
I was visiting family in a province in South Africa called Durban.
hmm,
And there, a devotee from the Hare Krishna movement came to, she was doing book distribution,
hmm,
and she was from Calcutta, and
hmm,
she was passing our way. And so she stopped and, tried to get our attention. So, being the, person with so many questions, I started asking those questions to her.
hmm,
And from the very viewpoint, she was able to answer me in ways that nobody was able to ever in the past, because I used to ask absolutely everyone that had any spiritual inclination,
hmm,
whether they were, Christian, Muslim, the local Hindus that really weren't very much in touch with the motherland. So nobody was able to answer. But for the first time, this gentle lady from Calcutta was able to answer me in ways that I was so amazed
hmm,
about the nature of karma, the nature of reincarnation, the aspect of Bhagavan, the jiva, the living entity, time, kala, the material nature,
hmm,
prakriti, and karma. The karma being your activities and that is reaction to activities,
hmm,
and how all this fits together, and why we are facing what we face, each one of us born into different circumstances because of this. And
hmm,
I was so impressed that I decided I will take some books from her. Now, at that point, I didn't have any money, very little money. I only had my transport money to go back to my parents in
hmm,
Johannesburg.
hmm,
So I just gave everything. I didn't care. I just gave everything. I said, "You give me whatever books you can give me."
hmm,
And she saw that I was very eager, so she gave me a whole lot of books, and I kept them with me,
hmm,
and I started reading them. Now, at that time, we never had access because I don't know if your viewers would know that. Okay, I'm a totally blind person,
yeah, yeah,
and as such, I didn't have access to reading physical printed books. And
yeah,
these books had Sanskrit in it, it had English, it had different quotations from the scriptures,
yeah,
which were a little difficult to read with the diacritics of Sanskrit.
yeah.
But I scanned the book page by page, and I started reading the Bhagavad Gita.
Hmm,
And well, I actually started with I actually started with Bhagavad Gita, that's right. And I was so impressed by the knowledge. And since then, I've always had a desire to come to India because this I knew was a philosophy that was originating from the Indian continent. And also, I'm of Indian origin because my great great grandparents were brought to South Africa during the slave era in the 1800s, 1860s onwards, when they were bringing people, cheating them from India, taking them away to work as slaves, lying to them that they'll make money because of the gold rush in Johannesburg. And many it's that's a whole nother story to get into how our people were exploited and abused by the British that came, that did this. But anyway, so I had Indian origin in my blood. I mean, I'm originally from South Indian heritage. So then, knowing this and now hearing this wonderful philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedic literature, I understood the value, and I that's what sparked my desire to come to India. And it stayed with me, it stayed in my heart, and until I was able to afford it, because I was studying at university in the 1990s, and then I saved money. I went into a music talent competition in 2002. I made it into the top 10 out of 8,000 contestants, so I got quite far. So there was a bit of exposure, and then I was able to get a little bit of income from my record sales. Um, private sales, and so that afforded me a ticket to India. And it was there was a life changing experience in 2006 when I first visited India. In particular, I came to Vrindavan, and my heart was just captured by the beauty of this life here and the philosophy here in Vrindavan.
In Africa, there is a lot of Christian influence, right? Even now, when I look at African countries, there are so many Christian pastors and priests are seen on the road holding mics and preaching their Bible and trying to convert people. I see this
Mm.
in a regular basis.
Yes.
You didn't get attracted to those heavily, influenced Christian culture in Africa, but you have attracted to Bhagavad Gita. What is that?
Bhagavad Gita has answers to questions in a very profound way. Um, the Christian tradition can't answer questions that these scriptures can answer. The Vedic scriptures are extremely rich, extremely deep. I'll give you some examples.
Please.
For a sincere seeker, you ask questions like, why are people born into unequal circumstances? Why is somebody born rich, somebody born poor? What kind of a God would force that upon you? Now, from a Christian perspective, they cannot answer that because in their culture, in their religious understanding, there is no previous life. There is no rebirth like we know reincarnation, right? They don't have that. So they will just say, well, we cannot understand God's plan. But I would ask, but a God cannot be unfair, unequal to everybody.
Yeah.
Why are we born unequally? But when you come to understand Bhagavad Gita, you understand that in your previous life, you commit certain activities, you develop certain desires, and those activities and desires come together to determine what your next life will be. So you actually choose your life. You choose the things that will happen to you because of your previous actions, good and bad actions. No other scripture, none of the Abrahamic faiths, whether it's Christianity or Islam, is able to give you such detailed answers, profound answers to life's questions. I was attracted to this process because of the depth of our scripture. And I knew about it before. I mean, as I said, I come from an Indian background. We lost everything. My previous family heritage, they lost the Tamil language. I can't speak a word of Tamil, but because of generations of being misled and influenced in South Africa, we lost everything. Um, and yet I knew there was a Bhagavad Gita. There was something called Bhagavad Gita. I knew that there was a God known in Hinduism, but we didn't understand. We just thought it was polytheism, like many gods. But how are they all connected? What are the relationships between those gods? What are the demigods? We never knew any of that. But when you read Bhagavad Gita, then you understand how they come together, what function each plays in your life. So there's such richness and depth that you don't find anywhere else. And I was a questioning natured person. I always wanted to understand, and I would ask rabbis and mulanas from the Islamic faith, Christian preachers. Nobody was able to answer these questions. I'll just give you another example of some of the things that I was questioning. So in the afterlife, what happens to the person when they leave their bodies? Can it be possible that if you do good in one lifetime, then you get God's mercy? Because this is what the Abrahamic faiths teach.
Yeah.
If you do good, you go to heaven one lifetime.
Yeah.
If you do bad, you go to hell.
Yeah.
And when you go to hell, then you never can be redeemed from hell. It's eternal. So they say that no matter how long you live on this earth, if you lived for 30 years, you had a 30-year opportunity, once only, one 30-year chance, and you failed it, then you go to hell eternally. You don't suffer for the duration that you've not chosen correctly, you suffer eternally. So that doesn't sound like justice in
Yes.
Godhood
Yes.
to
Yes.
create something like that.
Yeah.
And that's what their tradition teaches. I was never satisfied with these kind of solution answers to the questions of life. And so when you come to the Vedic worldview, then you understand that have been taking birth after birth through eternity and being given opportunity after opportunity to make choices in which you then face the reactions until you make the choice to overcome material existence by turning to God and making your life surrendered to His mercy and to developing yourself. And it goes so deep as to explain that there is a process by which you can come to understand that you're not the body, that you're the soul within the body. This is what Bhagavad Gita teaches. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam teaches. And no other tradition, again, can tell you much about that process. How to understand, because it's one thing to go to a place of worship and you're told you're not the body, but you're the soul within the body. Fine, I know that, I understand that theoretically. What do I need to do to realize that I am not the body? I want to feel an independent existence from this body. And the Bhagavatam explains that if you follow the process correctly, you will gradually get to experience yourself as a spirit soul, and you will start to feel that there's a difference between the body and the soul.
Yeah.
And I can say that we, having now studied Bhagavad Gita for over 30 years, and having followed the process, which is Nama Japa, which is a process of meditation on the Lord's name, these realizations are gradually coming to be experienced very subtly, because it's a process. It takes time, and there's a lot of misconceptions to be overcome in the heart. Lust, greed, anger, envy, illusion. It takes time, but you can feel the impact. Every time you come in the presence of the deity in the temple, or you come in the process or in the presence of the spiritual guide, you can feel the potency. You can feel something happen in the heart. There's something happening that's changing your conception of life. So a lot of wonderful things happened. So this process was so unique that I couldn't possibly go and say, okay, I'm changing my faith to another process or anything. I was never attracted to them in the first place because they never could answer my questions. They never could give me the meaning that I needed in my life.
What was your age when you first decided to study Bhagavad Gita or Veda?
I was in my early 20s, 21, 22, somewhere
When a
around there.
person, when a person aging 20 could read and understand and implement Gita in his life way back in South Africa, why can't our people in India, our youth, our students in India do not read and try to understand our great books like Gita and Veda?
There's a very specific reason for that. When the British took over India, India had already experienced defeat from the Islamic world. We're talking history now, and these are just facts. These people came in before the British. The Muslims came into our country and they broke temples like Aurangzeb.
Yeah.
They broke our temples. They built mosques on top of them.
Yeah.
They exploited our people very severely and forced them, because they knew the Vedic understanding was, at least within the Brahmanical community, that you certain things should never be done. So
Yeah.
they would wash their feet and they would force them to drink that water and convert them into Islam. So it was a very forceful, militant takeover.
Mm. Mm.
And when this happened to our people, they lost faith. They lost a little bit of faith in not a little bit, but significant amount of faith in the Vedic worldview. And over the generations, they got lost to other traditions again because of forced militant takeover. Now, when the British came, they added, insult to injury, because what they did was they had a very specific program of education. And I forget who it was, but it was one of the governors of one of the provinces of India that were taken over by the British. He wrote back to the British government to say the only way that we can destroy the Indian morale, the Indian enthusiasm, is to destroy the religion, is to destroy the faith that they have in their religion, is to make them believe that what they're doing is backward and ancient and barbaric civilization. This was a very, very specific and organized plan that they followed, and they achieved their goal. That is why today our people look at our scriptures and think, "Oh, this is all just, mythology. This is this is all just, folklore. This is
Yeah.
not something that we need to focus on. We need to become
Yeah.
westernized. We need to learn how to use machines."
Mm. Mm.
Huh? And these same machines, you have so much of machines today. The people are less happy because the machines are taking over the jobs of men. This is the so-called beauty of Western civilization. We worship and honor the West so much, but what is it doing to our people? It's taking away jobs.
Yeah.
It's destroying societies.
Yeah.
It's forcing people into a culture of
It's also
uh,
destroying the relationships. It is destroying the emotions.
everything,
Everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So, and what we do when we see Westerners, we worship their white skin, don't we? And this is what's happening to our local Indians. We can't appreciate because we're just seeing these people and we're thinking of them as highly civilized and highly advanced.
Mm. Mm.
And it's just doesn't make sense because these people, they might have their modern civilization, but it's not that's going to give us happiness.
Mm.
As we can see around the world, even the Western civilizations are failing because of war,
Yeah.
because of exploitation.
Yeah.
They realize that it doesn't belong to me; it belongs to God, and I'm just a temporary proprietor,
Mm.
and that my most important function is to serve God through my leadership.
Mm.
But leadership that is not God conscious, they can't think this way. So everything is about exploiting the material nature for my own sense gratification. And that's what they're doing. And we worship that because we've been trained that way. I think that same governor said, I forget his name, but I could go and reference it at some point, that he said to Britain that. We need to force these Indians to develop the British tastes of fine wine and women. Hmm? And that's exactly they wanted them to become acculturated to to the Western way of thinking.
Yeah.
And now we haven't only just become acculturalized, we've also started to idolize it. So we think of it as the best thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything that's connected to that we worship. So when we start thinking about our own spiritual background, we don't have that because they don't include that in the Western education very specifically. They teach you everything is done by the West.
Yeah.
They teach you about the atom that was discovered by the West.
Yeah.
Yet in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna describes how time manifests because he glances upon this thing called the atom.
Mm. Mm.
This is in the Srimad Bhagavatam,
Yeah.
third canto, chapter 11. If anybody wants to reference it, they can see. This is what Krishna talks about the atom. He is, you know, um the cause of everything. Sarva karuna karunam. So he's the cause of the atom
mm,
also. And he says this. He says everything in the Srimad Bhagavatam. If we study this, we'll understand that actually the West didn't just because they might have discovered certain phenomenon of Earth doesn't mean that they're the creator or the proprietor.
yeah.
We have to give glory to what really deserves glory. And our scriptures teach all of these things. So, education, we should learn and we should try to educate ourselves about what is really valuable. If we do that, we will really come back to what we need. And that is our original tradition.
The damage happened to our civilization or culture is irreparable. Do you have any hope that the damage what happened is going to get fixed?
I do believe it's going to be fixed. But it's only going to be fixed if you and I and everybody who understands what happened is going to take the time, take the trouble to educate our youth to knowing what our history was and knowing the value of what we actually have. Education is the key. Not education as they want to shove down our throats through the school systems and the universities. Those institutions are designed to destroy our Vedic civilization. That's what was done. That's what the British aim was.
Mm,
But if we can teach them that, like in India now, there's a tendency to move back towards Gurukul education, in other words, spiritual education,
mm,
then that education is going to teach us about the real value and about the real wealth of our tradition. When the people understand that, then naturally we're all looking for happiness. Everybody will come back to what gives happiness because we're looking for that happiness. But if we don't know what happiness is and where it comes from, we're going to start looking in the wrong places and we're going to start um, honoring those things, the Western civilization. So when we understand that that is not the real happiness, then we will seek what is the real happiness, and we will naturally start to honor that because we all are seeking for happiness.
mm,
The Vedic literature is the place that provides that happiness to civilization. And it doesn't matter even if you're not Indian.
mm,
Here in Vrindavan, we're seeing it more and more. People from all over the world, thanks to the preaching done, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who introduced this for the first time in the Western countries in 1966 onwards.
mm,
Well, started in 1965 when he entered the American country.
mm,
Then we see that these people have been touched, their lives, their hearts have been touched. I mean, you say that it's impressive that I, who am still Indian,
mm,
I've come to India, I found back my Indian roots, is
mm,
impressive.
mm,
Well, let me tell you what's more impressive is that people of different cultures, Africans from Africa, I have a friend who's living at Govardhan Hill. He's an African bodied devotee. He
oh,
gave up all of that culture of Africa where they kill the cow as a festival.
yeah,
He
yeah.
gave all that up and he's now living as a saint, as a sadhu in
Wow.
Govardhan Hill. This is a miracle. And people from Russia, people from England, people from America, from all over the world are coming to Vrindavan and they're giving up this Western understanding and they're taking to the Vedic lifestyle.
Mm,
They're willing to undergo all kinds of austerity in order to continue the worship of Krishna because they found the sweetness of the Vedic worldview. They
mm,
found it
mm.
and they're loving it. They're honoring it. They're willing to suffer for it because they don't want to lose it. So there's something sweet that the West, wants to take away from us, but yet this education,
Mm,
which is what we are trying to do in this ISKCON movement, this education of what is real value, what is real happiness, what is real sweetness, needs to be given. And then not only our Indian people,
mm.
but people from outside of India will come and grab this knowledge.
But Yamuna, in India, see, you are touching on education, well, good, and fine. But
Mhm.
in India, in our education system, we are taught, we are shown that people like Aurangzeb, people like Tughlaq are superheroes. We are never thought about Arjuna, we are never thought about the Pandavas, Kauravas. We are never thought about Krishna in our education system.
Hmm.
Sometimes I feel that I'm living in Arabian country, not in India, not in Bharat.
The thing is, we need to show people that firstly, let me be frank,
Hmm,
that what is happening here, that we're seeing Aurangzeb as a hero.
hmm,
This is manipulation at its best. This is deliberate exploitation and manipulation of the human mind.
hmm,
They are wanting us to see good as evil and evil as good.
hmm,
Aurangzeb was somebody who, exploited our country so severely. He broke temples. He broke places of worship.
hmm,
We don't give value to the places of worship because we lost our the importance of it. We lost our understanding of the importance of a temple.
hmm,
If we can understand what he has done, how much of abuse and disruption he has implemented into our country, nobody would be happy with that. No Indian who has any dignity in his heart,
hmm,
who understands what he has really done, will
hmm,
honor such people.
hmm,
But we don't understand, so you can't blame the people. we
hmm,
have to we have to realize that there are people that are malicious, that want to disrupt everything that is Indian. They want to take it away from us, and we have to be like, um, almost like a security guard, trying to protect that which is valuable to our hearts.
hmm, hmm,
Our culture, our values are all coming from the Vedas, and the sweetness is there.
hmm,
And that is what they want to take from us. If we understand what they're trying to take from us, they will naturally fight because they know the value. Let's just say you have a piece of gold,
hmm,
and you grew up being taught that this is just some rubbish metal. It just looks nice, but it's useless.
hmm, hmm,
At some point, if I give you food, I say, listen, I taste this food, how nice it is.
hmm,
Why would you want to hold on to this gold?
hmm.
This is terrible. You can't even eat it.
Yeah,
Right? It's logical. It sounds logical.
yeah.
You'll believe me at some point, and you'll throw the gold away. That's exactly what they're doing. So we honor people who think this way.
Hmm,
I'm the hero. I destroy, and I'm so great because I destroy.
hmm,
You can destroy. It's easy to destroy. Anyone can destroy. What about those who maintain and create?
yeah.
Hmm? So this is what's needed here. The people can change their mentality if they understand that this these people that are we apparently been trained to worship are actually not worshipable. Why? We can tell them why. We can show them what they've done in our country. We can
Hmm,
show them what they've done to our people.
hmm,
And when you know the truth, you will not want to stand for that. But we don't know the truth. So you can't blame the Indian youth. You got to put the blame where it deserves to be, and train the youth to understand the truth. Because if we don't do that, if we blame our youth, then basically what we're doing is against the teachings of somebody like Jesus Christ, who said, "Hate the sin, but not the sinner."
hmm,
You know,
hmm, hmm.
because the youth are not our sinners. They just been misled,
Yeah.
but we need to guide them.
Americans always raise their eyebrow saying that, they have invented the nuclear first in the world. Now, the person behind the invention of nuclear is Oppenheimer, right? Now, Oppenheimer is such a great scientist who also followed Bhagavad Gita so seriously. Bhagavad Gita have influenced him so much that he used to quote Bhagavad Gita's original shlokas in his presentations and seminars. When a great super scientist like Oppenheimer also consumes Bhagavad Gita and implements Bhagavad Gita in his lifestyle and also in his science, why can't our youngsters, why can't our schools and universities, why can't our parents implement the same beauty of Bhagavad Gita into the souls of their children? Our schools, they only stress on technical education infinite times. They
Hmm.
never ever encourage to incorporate Vedic education into their syllabus. This is something which hurts me very bad.
Well, the answer there is the same as I mentioned earlier. It's a deliberate attempt at indoctrination.
If it is deliberate attempt, why do this popular people from Western world have incorporated Bhagavad Gita into their lifestyle?
See, let's first say this: uh, the nuclear weapon wasn't invented by Oppenheimer. The nuclear weapon was being used long before even the Battle of Kurukshetra.
Oh,
It used to be called the Brahmastra, but they used to implement it with much more potency than we do today. They could activate the Brahmastra with mantras.
mhm,
We don't have that science so deeply anymore, but they could do that. That's what's the power. What do you think a Brahmastra was? It was actually a nuclear weapon.
wow.
you know so we told that so and so developed this and invented this and discovered this, but actually when you really go deep down into it, you'll see all of this was actually coming from the Vedas.
Mm,
So he may have, and this is my speculation, but I think I'm quite on the mark with this.
mm,
If he studied Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and even in the Vedic literature, there's Yajur Veda, which is the text that is responsible to teach military warfare, which is necessary to protect dharma. You
yeah.
need you need some mechanism to protect the citizens.
Mm,
So he would have learnt about the Brahmastra, and he would have learned how to implement, the splitting of the atom, the splitting of the nucleus.
mm,
These sciences are there.
mm,
So then you come out and say, "This is my invention." Is that ethical? You're learning something from somewhere else and you're calling it your own invention. The same thing with the aeroplane.
yeah.
What is it? What is it? I
Pushpaka
think they call the
Viman.
Wright brothers, huh?
Pushpaka Viman, right? The
Yes,
airplanes.
that's what it was. It was
Mm,
Pushpaka Vimans. Uh, They used, but that was because it was flowers, made of flowers. But there's also other vimanas that were implemented in history.
mm,
The ones made of metal is just the grossest form
mm,
of aeroplanes. But they used to have them, and they used to be flown using previously using mercury as fuel. So
oh,
what these guys did, they learned the science from the Vimana Shastras,
mm,
and they made modifications to it so that
mm.
they can use other kinds of fuel, and that's how they discovered that they could use petrol,
Vaseline.
gasoline.
Yeah.
So they've taken the same knowledge again from the Vedas, and then they've copyrighted it and patented it and called it their own. This is simply theft. They've
Mm,
done this all over the Indian tradition. They've stolen our people to work on the sugarcane fields as slaves. They took our resources, took
mm,
it to the West, made product out of it, and came and sell it to our local people
mm,
at many times the price. And
mm,
and in this way, they stole our money and our resources.
mm,
Um, they've taken our culture
mm,
and they've stolen it for themselves. All the knowledge from the Vedic worldview, the science that we talk about, they've taken it and made their own product and they
mm,
called it their own. What haven't they stolen from us?
mm,
And then they're so amazingly brilliant that at the same time, they make us worship them by making us think that they are the heroes.
mm,
I mean, really, if our people are intelligent, which they are, our youth are not stupid, our Indian youth.
mm,
We just need to be informed about what these people have done. And you will embrace your culture, you will embrace the Vedas with everything in your heart
mm,
if you know the truth.
mm,
So it's just a question of you and I, we have a duty here. All of us that understand this have to go out and spread this news. What is this Bhagavad Gita? What have these people done to us? Huh? They've taken something very beautiful away from us.
mm,
Swami Srila Prabhupada did this. He went to the West and he has done this. Now, thousands and millions of people will come to
mm,
India, and from not only Indians.
mm,
And we've seen it. You go to Vrindavan, you go to Mayapur. I'm living in Vrindavan. I'm telling you, we're seeing it every day.
mm,
Russians, people from would you believe in even the Islamic countries, they're
mm.
coming here and taking shelter in Bhagavad Gita.
See, you said that our youth are not stupid, they are smart. So, what do you say? Do you feel that if this smart youth perceive Bhagavad Gita, they will become super smart? Are you sure about it?
I'll tell you by experience also.
Hmm.
I have two sons,
Hmm.
and I never send them to school,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
They grew up in South Africa under my care and my wife's care. We never send them to school. They've never been inside a school.
Hmm.
We train them with Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam as the basis of their education.
Hmm.
If they needed to learn mathematics, they would have to learn how the time of let's say, Lord Brahma's one day or Lord Brahma's lifetime equates to our time.
Hmm.
So, in other words, everything that they would have to learn, or how many days um,
Hmm.
in of the demigods is equal to, like 6 months is equal to one, 6 months for us is equal to one day of the demigods,
Hmm.
and the other 6 months is equal to one night. Now you
Oh.
can do all kinds of calculations like this to find out some, details.
Hmm.
How long has a certain personality been on Earth in terms
Hmm.
of demigod time?
Hmm.
You know, so mathematics. There we go. You want to know something about mathematics? Use the Vedas as a basis to study.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You want to know about science? You can study the atom. Krishna gives in the Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, chapter 11. You want to study history? We can understand all the way back to way back compared to what they are teaching us only about the renaissance of the European world.
Yeah.
We can go right back in history to the time of even Lord Ramachandra,
Yeah. Yeah.
2 million years
Thousands and
ago,
thousands and thousands of years ago.
millions of years ago.
Yeah. Millions of years ago. Right. Yes.
So we have histories like that. So you want to study science, you want to study history, you want to study mathematics, everything is in the Vedas. And what happens? Your intellect, because it's being shaped with God in the center, everything is based on scripture. Scripture has power, it has potency. That potency has an impact on your education, it has impact on your intelligence.
Hmm.
It powers up your education, it powers up your intellect.
Hmm.
Now, when we came to India,
Hmm.
I felt that my boys were sufficiently educated.
Hmm.
They understood the Vedic worldview and they knew how to implement that into their regular education.
Hmm.
So just to see how well we've done,
Hmm.
when they went into 10th grade,
Hmm.
the age of 10th grade, which was in 14 and 15 years old,
Yeah. Yeah.
respectively, my
Yeah.
two sons, we put them into a public school for the first time in India,
Hmm.
here in Vrindavan.
Hmm.
And when they did the entrance exam into grade 10, they only studied for 1 month.
Hmm.
They didn't do ninth grade and eighth grade. They studied
Nothing.
for 1 month. And you know what happened? They passed. They entered into ninth grade. Then they sat through the ninth grade, CBSE syllabus,
Hmm.
Indian syllabus. They didn't even know Hindi. They had
Hmm.
no knowledge of the language.
Hmm.
At the end of the year, even without Hindi as a subject, my eldest son, um, he topped his class,
Hmm.
and he went to, like, they had different sections that, in each grade they have like the topper class, and like of ninth grade you have uh, the more affluent students.
Hmm.
He ended up in that class, and my second son also. They ended up in the top class of the 10th grade.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I'm not bragging here. What I'm trying to say is this is not my doing. It's only because my only credit here is that I used the scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, as a basis for the education. You asked the question about how can we prove that the Vedic literature will make our youth smart.
Hmm.
Well, my
Yeah.
sons are my proof. I don't need to do anything else to prove it. We've
Hmm.
done it.
Hmm.
And I can say that they fitted in so well with the education system. Now they will challenge their teachers. If you
Yeah.
say that the atom was made by somebody in the West, they'll say, wait a minute, wait, this Shastra says like this. So
Wow.
they're going
Wow.
into that education. That's very same education system that is trying to destroy us. They're going into that education system and destroying it. Parents have a very important role. You can't just send them to school, pay the money, and think all is well. You have to play a very, very active role in the home to teach them, to guide them, to be a role model. We want to send them, go to the temple, but you don't go to the temple as a parent. What do you think? The
Yeah.
children are not going to want to go
Yeah.
because they don't see you doing it. They don't see an example in you.
Yeah. True.
So we need to guide by example, and we need to be, our hearts need to, like how I'm speaking here with a passion, with a strong feeling. Our children can only gain that if their parents feel that way.
The other day, while I'm talking to you over the call,
Mm.
somewhere I mentioned about mythology, and you asked me to forget this word. You asked me to wash this word mythology away from my brain. I want to
Yes.
know why.
Mm. Let's trace this word. And they use this word very often when they talk about Vedic personalities. They call it mythology, to the point that you've actually used it without even thinking.
Hmm.
The word mythology comes from a word myth. Myth means
Ah,
something that is not the truth, it's a lie,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So they want us to use, they use language to subconsciously make us think that what we follow is a lie.
Hmm.
So we need to be very careful about our language usage. They will never say mythology when they speak of Christianity.
Correct.
They will
Yes.
never say mythology when they speak about Islam, when they speak about Allah, or they speak about
Yeah.
Muhammad. Right? Why?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because it's a wrong word to use, but they're quick and easy to use that, and even teach our own people to use that word in relation to our own scripture. What have they done to us? So we have to know the fault. We have to say, I'm not, I'm going to change this by force, whatever it takes. But we have to pray for help because these people are very powerful. Those people that have destroyed our world, they're very powerful and they can only destroy us if we minimize our connection to God because our protection comes from God. The problem with the Indian people is that we have also minimized our connection to our scripture
Hmm.
over the generations. Um, and by the time Islamic takeovers and Mughal influences and the British came,
Hmm.
we were already kind of going away from the essence of the teaching. We were moving towards pantheism as opposed to understanding Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha, who is the supreme personality of Godhead, and what is his relation to the devas.
Hmm.
Chapter 9, text 20, Bhagavad Gita explains very clearly who is God, who are the demigods, what is our business with the demigods. But what we have done, we've just made everything all is one, all is one.
Yeah.
All is not one. Not everything is one. There's a unique difference between the functions of the demigods and the functions of Bhagavan. So we
Guruji,
have
if
to.
they say all is one, why can't that one can be our Krishna?
Well, that one is Krishna, but not everything is Krishna. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am in everything, but everything is not in me.
Hmm.
This is a statement from Lord Krishna. Now, what is he saying? That just because everything is Krishna doesn't mean that you can take everything and stool and eat it. Oh, this is God's mercy. So we have to understand very carefully, because when we do, then we'll understand how to apply ourselves to spiritual understanding.
Yamuna, now in India, there are two set of people. One
Mm,
small portion of people are talking for Hinduism, Hindu, Sanatan Dharma, and stuff like that.
mm.
And the big portion, very big portion of the people are talking about secularism. Now, you are from South Africa. I'm asking you, is South Africa a secular country? Is America a secular country? Is UK a secular country?
Most of these countries you mentioned are Christian countries, which means that they claim to be of Christian teachings, but you don't find that Christian teachings are in the schools either.
Hmm.
So they might call themselves a Christian country, and they might even have secularism as a basis of their education, although they just use Christianity as a front.
Hmm.
So it's a problem that can happen here. We can call India a Hindu country, but actually, how much of our teachings are in our scripture?
If you call this country a Hindu country, the first person who raises his voice is Hindu alone. The problem is that our Hindu himself don't want to call this country a Hindu country. He wants to call this country a secular nation,
Can you blame
unfortunately.
him? Can you think about it this way? How many generations of manipulation, of brainwashing has gone into our Indian people? From the time the Mughals took over our country all the way into British rule, all they've ever done was to make us think that we are backward. Our civilization is useless. Can we blame them? It's our responsibility to change that now. We have to take it upon ourselves to go door to door and to beg them to come back to our understanding of what is right and what is wrong. Teach them, guide them. They are simply ignorant. They have no knowledge, and because they have no knowledge, they are falling into the other side. They are being sucked into this materialistic lifestyle, made to believe that you need to become an engineer, you need to become a lawyer, you need to study in the school. That is the only way to achieve anything. No. Do you know if you want to become a doctor, you can study medicine from the perspective of Ayurveda, and you can become very efficient, very effective. But obviously, you have to follow the program. And if you want to become a scientist, there's scriptures that are related to absolutely everything that we want to learn. And it's just a question of knowing what. If you want to get into understanding the universal structure, geography, there's Surya Siddhanta you can study. You'll understand then that there's so many parts to this universe we don't know about. This earth as we know it, the greater earth is called Bharatvarsha. But even though India is also Bharatvarsha, but the larger earth is also called Bharatvarsha. But did you know that this earth is not just a ball, a single ball spinning in space as they want you to believe? There's other Varshas here. We are living on a single island. And, next to it is another Varsha. Well, around it is a mountain range and then ocean. And then there's another Varsha, Kim Purusha Varsha. And then around that, mountain and water and then Hari Varsha. So we have so many regions, and all that makes up just one island, Jambudvip, the island of Jambudvip. So this landmass that we know as Earth is only a small part of which the entire landmass is 4 billion square miles in diameter.
Sadly, the universities, schools, these people don't allow us to use Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Ram, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, well, we need to use it anyway. I'll tell you an incident that happened
Please, yeah.
in a school where my sons went. When they first joined the schooling system in India, there was an English teacher who refused to allow them to say Radhe Radhe because in
Is it?
Vrindavan everybody says Radhe Radhe. It's Radharani's name here, and everybody honors it. Even in the bank, you go to the bank, they'll greet you Radhe Radhe. Why the school doesn't want? So the teacher stopped them from saying Radhe Radhe, and my sons were very upset. They came home and complained to me,
Oh.
and I told them, you may not be able to stop her because she's an authority. You pray to Radharani. You see, we have to understand that these personalities we are worshipping, Radha and Krishna, they're not just some historical, mythological figures. They are people, they are the supreme persons.
Yeah,
We can pray to them.
yeah,
The Christians will pray to Jesus. Why we cannot pray to Radha and Krishna?
yeah.
Pray to her, and she will take care of it.
Mm.
Somehow or the other, the next 2 weeks, we found out that this teacher was fired from a job. She stopped them from saying Radhe Radhe. I said pray, and then they prayed about it. Of course, they did try to fight it. Oh no, but why? This is Vrindavan. All the argument they did. I don't know if that had an impact, but their prayer must have also had an impact. And they were she was fired from a school. So we have to turn to God in trying to make the changes we want to see. Sometimes we think by our own strength we can fix such a big problem. Our entire country has been indoctrinated, has been manipulated. Do you remember what our prime minister did when he opened the Ramlala temple in Ayodhya? He did
Fast.
fasting before.
Yes, 11 days.
So very intense that is. So for a personality like this, he takes to prayer in trying to change the world, in trying to change our country, because he understands these personalities that have the power
But
and had the
sadly,
power.
very sadly, people didn't supported him as expected. That is very sad.
Let me tell you, this is only the beginning because the training is starting to take place. People are starting to wake up now. If you notice, just look on the positive side for a moment. Indians are starting to wake up. They're starting to see. There's a few, maybe not too many, but it's starting surely. In Vrindavan, I can tell you, we are seeing immigrants into Vrindavan from other parts of the country to visit to just to come and spend little pilgrimage time like we've never seen in the history.
mm, mm,
If you go even to in Ayodhya now, you
mm.
look at the crowds. They've crowds like we've never had before.
Yeah.
People are waking up to spiritual understanding.
Mm,
People are starting to see values in the Vedic version.
mm.
It's not going to happen overnight, but it is happening for sure. I can tell you it is happening.
Someone wants to start a Bhagavad Gita. Do you have any specific recommendation?
Yes, we have Bhagavad Gitas available in the different languages, whether it's the Indian languages or even the foreign languages. In the Hare Krishna movement, we have the Bhagavad Gita that has been translated, not only translated, but very direct and clear in meanings in the purports by the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, has also been translated and explained.
Mm.
So we can make this available to people as they wish. It's now being put into libraries across the country. It's called the Bhagavad Gita
Okay.
as it is, specifically because
Mm.
the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, Srila Prabhupada, he wanted this knowledge to not have human interpretation behind it.
Yamuna, if someone wants to reach out to you during the process of awakening, will you entertain that?
Very much, because that's my business here. That's my goal. I might get overwhelmed with the responses, and I already am. But I will use every bit of my time, over and above my bhajan time, because I also need to free myself before I can free others. So I do bhajan during the day. I do japa. I do chanting of God's names. I do reading of scripture, studying of scripture, and over and above that, I teach to others.
My dear listeners, the contact details of Yamuna Jivana Das is in the description. I strongly recommend you guys to start reading Bhagavad Gita and try to understand the essence of the great Sanatan Dharma. Now we have come to the stage of the show where I have this question for all my guests coming on Suman versus Human, and you will have no option to say no, you have to answer this. So, are you ready to take up the question?
No problem. Yes.
What if you get all the superpowers in your hands to change one particular thing in this universe? What is that one particular thing is going to be?
If I had the power to change it,
Yes.
it's to change the heart of the living entity from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. That I will want to do.
Wonderful. Yamuna, Team Suman versus Human salutes you for the great work you are doing to change the society. Now, you are also a music composer and you have done so many great songs in the name of Hare Krishna. Would you mind if I play a track,
Yes, that'll be nice. You can do that. I'll just tell you a little history about the song.
please?
So, this song is a song that was composed by Lord Brahma at the beginning of creation. It's called the
Wow.
Brahma Sangita. And
Oh.
this is when Brahma was given instruction because he was born out of a lotus from Lord Vishnu's navel,
Mm,
and he saw darkness around him. He didn't know what to do. What is going on here? Who am I? Why am I here? So he heard a voice from the sky saying, "Tapa." Tapa means austerity.
mm,
So he performed austerity for a long time,
mm,
and the Lord in the heart revealed to him everything that he needs to know. And what he learned, he sang in this song. What happened, interestingly, this is all in Sanskrit.
mm,
And I had to take this song and it was in Sanskrit, and then it got translated into English by um, a person called Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami.
mm,
He is the teacher of the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, Srila Prabhupada. So
mhm,
he translated this, and I took the English text that he translated,
mm,
making absolutely sure not to change a single word of the translation.
mm.
And I had to put it to music. That was a very difficult task
Yeah,
because
yeah,
remember, the Sanskrit has meter, it has rhyme, it has
yes,
line length, that
yeah,
everything lends itself to a straight tune. So I had to take this English translation and I had to put that to music. So I did that, and that's what you're going to hear. So this is the words of Lord Brahma in English now, so that everybody can understand it. I hope you enjoy it. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire.
Thank you so much, Yamuna, for giving me this great opportunity to host you on Suman versus Human. It was wonderful talking to you.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and thanks for the work that you're doing. It's wonderful because we need more people to share this knowledge, as I am doing in a way you're doing, and we're collaborating. More of this collaboration is needed, and I want to appeal to everyone that has any passion for this, to make this world a better place. Collaborate and see how we can come together to make a difference. With head bedecked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty, tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness, charming